Here with reaction to all this and more, nationally syndicated radio talk show host, the great one, Mark Levin. JV, boots on the ground, no boots on the ground. One part of the administration is saying destroy, then we'll manage, then international coalitions. Have you ever witnessed such incoherence in your life, Mark?
No, we're surrounded by knuckleheads, and the problem is they're supposed to be protecting the country. First of all, it's September 17th, so happy Constitution Day, or what's left of the Constitution Day. What the House has done, let me just say, this is extraordinary. They've given the President authority to train 5,000 moderate whatevers in Syria. I guess they know who's what. This is very interesting to me, Sean. So the President doesn't think he needs congressional approval, declaration of war, or what have you, to bomb, but apparently he needs congressional approval to arm 5,000 whatevers. This is very odd. I just want to point this out. You actually have a revolt going on with the top generals in Obama. I'm not talking about tanks pulling up to the White House and so forth. These men are trying to communicate to the American people that they are military men and we cannot defeat this enemy unless we use all of our armed forces and armed services. That's number one. Number two, Obama does not view this as a military action. He keeps telling us it's not a war, it's not a war. For him, the truth is it's about politics. It's about containing this issue politically for him so he can focus on fundamentally transforming America. And this is a very serious matter to understand. So the generals and the military see this quite differently than our very political president, who really doesn't want to defeat this enemy. Or he would go to Congress, get a declaration of war, unleash hell on these cockroaches, and then get out. Instead, he speaks to our military men and tells them, don't worry, no combat boots on the ground. He has said it 1,000 times so every one of our enemies in every single language can understand under this so-called commander-in-chief, he has no intention of defeating them, period. All
right, look, I agree with you it's political, but I'm more cynical maybe even than you are. I think this is just to get past the midterm election. I don't think it's any deeper than that. I don't think this president has any intention of fighting the war that they've declared against us.
I think it's to get past the Obama administration. He just doesn't want to deal with this. He sees his numbers are low, so he'll do the absolute minimum. I mean, the American people, he says he's brought this wonderful coalition together, but they're keeping it secret. Have you ever heard anything so stupid in your life? There is no coalition. And then he's talking about training 5,000 moderate whatevers, 5,000 against 35,000. Who are these 5,000? Then he says we're going to use our Air Force, but we have to limit civilian casualties. Well, how are we going to use our Air Force, attack the enemy where it is in Syria, and limit civilian casualties? These generals, the Joint Chief of Staff and the rest of them, they see this as the disaster that it is. So do we.
All right. Then frankly, for Bob Gates to speak out as he did, I think speaks volumes. What about the rest of these generals? They're going to be in charge of this thing. And then they, Chairman Dempsey said, well, I'll go back to the president. The president's not going to change his mind about boots on the ground. So that means we're destined for failure. That means that the war will be engaged against us. Prime Minister Netanyahu said first, there was the master race. Now there's the master faith. I don't think the president has a clue about the caliphate. What does that mean for the average American when these guys get here?
I honestly don't think he gives a damn, as hard as that is to believe. How else do you explain him not securing the southern border? How else do you explain to him being on vacation while this whole thing is breaking out? How else do you explain sending 3,000 troops to Liberia and other places to fight Ebola while we don't have 3,000 troops at his direction on the border and so forth and so on? The fact of the matter is, if this is a war and we want victory, we can defeat them, we can wipe these cockroaches out. If he wants to do something short of that, obviously he can, but I think it's time for Mr. Boehner and Mr. McConnell and people to rise up and say, we want to know if you want victory, if you're going to call this a war, we will do a declaration of war, but we're not going to piddle around like this for political reasons.
But Mark, we watched as we've lost 4,000 men in Iraq. They shed their blood. They gave great sacrifice. Others lost their limbs. And then city after city fell, and the president did nothing. Why would anyone be convinced that he's serious about dealing with it now after the fact?
Well, we're not. And I want to say something now that you brought that up, because that's hugely important, and I know a lot of Gold Star families. I, on behalf of many people watching, many people in this country, want to apologize to you. I want you to know that your sons and daughters are heroes. They did exactly the right thing. I want to apologize to you for this phony commander-in-chief who cut and run, and as a result helped build up this enemy, this ISIS, ISIL, Schmeisel, whatever the hell it is, these terrorists, these cockroaches that we're now having to deal with, or should deal with, once and for all. And you know what? It just amazes me. Do we want to win wars anymore? Because we know how to win them. We remember how we won World War II. If this enemy is as serious as an enemy as the Secretary of Defense and the head of the Joint Chiefs and everybody else knows them to be, then we have to attack them where they are. And unfortunately, that's in Syria.
All right, the great one, Mark Levin, nationally syndicated radio talk shows. Thanks for being with us, Mark.